course, the story that we've been following for you all day here on KTN News comes from Paris, France, of course, in Europe, with those 6 separate terrorist attacks, leaving over 120 people dead. Joining us to analyze what the implications may be, both globally and locally, we've got Andrew Franklyn, our resident security analyst, joining us from our I&M studios here in Nairobi. Andrew, thank you very much for joining us. Andrew, let's start with what's been going on with respect to the pledges for support against ISIS. Now, the United States, Russia, and a number of other Western states seem to be closing ranks on this. But what are the implications in the short term, do you think, for France, and what are the implications for all of us in this war against terror?
Well, I think we have to look at where ISIS came from. ISIS started to appear on the radar in 2012. It was a somewhat more extreme version of al-Nusra Front, which had been declared a terrorist organization by the United States and other Western countries. ISIS, or Daesh, so-called Islamic State, is seeking to establish a caliphate in Syria and Iraq. The pledges of support for France are all moral and they're to be expected. France has stepped out against Islamic fundamentalism, especially in Africa. And also France does put boots on the ground and supports its allies in Africa and elsewhere. We should understand that today's attack, this horrendous 6 attacks in Paris on targets against normal or French civilians.
Yep.
These are not journalists, these are not Jewish targets. These are civilians. Now, Islamic State believes that the Western countries who are bombing Iraq and Syria, and now the Russians, are killing civilians.
All right, Andrew, what are the implications? What do you think? What do you expect the pronouncements, maybe from France as well as other Western states, may be? Are we looking at a complete shift in the way ISIS is going to be dealt with, both in Syria and around the world?
I would like to think it would be a real shift, but based on what the Secretary of State, John Kerry, spoke about earlier this evening, I don't see it happening. No Western country, no one's going to put boots on the ground. By somehow sitting down in Vienna to discuss what we're going to do about Syria, we're missing the point, which is that Islamic State is full of former members of Saddam Hussein's military organization. It is full of Ba'ath Party members who were all fired, thrown out of the political system after the United States successfully invaded Iraq. By talking only of Syria, and we've also excluded al-Nusra and Daesh, Islamic State, from sitting down. When Secretary of State Kerry said we're going to have 2 sides, and we're going to exclude the Al-Qaeda affiliate, and we're going to exclude Islamic State, which is transnational. If you look at how Islamic State is reaching out against its enemies, that is, countries that are supporting its enemies, that is, whether it's President Assad, so that hence the bombing in Beirut against Hezbollah, which is a Shia organization, which is also on a terrorist watch list.
Which leads me, Andrew, to my final question this evening. We saw the Sharm el-Sheikh bombing of that plane, ISIS claiming responsibility for that. Then there's a bombing of the neighborhood in Lebanon, and then now these attacks in Paris. If there's a declaration as an act of war, as François Hollande said that it would be, where will this war be fought?
Well, I think we have overlooked the fact that there were 2 attacks in Tunisia, devastating attacks, initially against the museum and then against the beach resorts. There have been attacks in Libya. We now see ISIS has set up its own affiliate in the eastern part of Libya. In other words, ISIS is expanding, but also it is taking action against those countries that are bombing its territory, that are actively working against it.
All right.
I think the implications are that unless we go to the heart of the problem, that is Iraq and Syria, we will never resolve this issue. If we believe that we can bomb them into submission, we're going to see increasing amounts of terrorism. We're going to see more and more attacks throughout Western Europe and also throughout North Africa.
All right.
Islamic State is fighting a conventional war in Iraq and also in Syria.
But an asymmetrical war in different parts of the world. Andrew, that's where we're going to have to leave it this
Obviously,
evening.
ISIS doesn't have aircraft.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's where we're going to have to end it this evening, running short of time, but definitely not short of commentary on this story. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Andrew Franklyn, our security analyst, joining us there from our I&M studios. Of course, talking about those attacks in Paris and what the implications might be, both a symmetrical and asymmetrical war being fought out of Syria and Iraq and in different targets around the world. We'll keep tabs on that story as it develops.